Well, hello there. I'm Christine and welcome to my channel. Today's card is the Magician, as you can see here, because we touched on him the other day in the last video and I just sort of felt inclined to sort of talk about him a little bit more because he is a number one in the pack. And what do we see? He some people will, one is one alone, sometimes looking after yourself as number one. What are they saying? There's a song, one is the loneliest number you could ever have. But sometimes you can say you know where you stand, where you are on your own. So there's two sides of looking at this card. We see a brightly coloured street magician. I just sort of need to get some notes up because there's things I don't want to miss out that I think is important that you sort of see about him. If I can just get them up just to cover myself, to make sure I cover everything that we want to talk to about him, because he on some books you read he is Aries, being like in astrology the first sign of the zodiac. But for me, and if you look at him as an Aries, he's enthusiastic about getting things off the ground, and he takes initiatives and he seizes the chance and he moves forward. And they say trust is there because you see this in his hand and this in his hand at the moment as a still. However, he is still, he looks to the past. So whatever cards here he's going to be looking at. And also on the table you see a mismatch of clothing, and he's on very unlevel ground, so he can sort of juggle and go with the shifting sands and move with it all. I like to personally, I put him more in an mercurial energy, because to me he's the trickster. He's the salesman of the zodiac, which I think is more of a Gemini energy at all. He has all the things he needs. He has fire, earth with the coin, water with the cup and the knife, and all these other little tricky things that he needs to sort of get through life as his tools of the trade, if you like. And he's on the table is well, we don't see the edge of the table, but we're seeing what we see in that all is three legs. Therefore we're sort of seeing, well, you know, this is the juggler. And so a sleight of hand in this I find very much part of how I read this card. But all this, as I said before on the other video, it's all about how you see it and what it reminds you of. I've just put these up because some people said I want to know the Marseille meanings, because I was doing Marseille readings, and I said, well, I'll do some videos on the majors and we'll take it from there. So that's what I sort of see, but he is very much to go on an adventure. I just want to check something because it's crossed my mind and I should know it, but just give me a minute to check something with that. What I'm asking here, and I should know, but I've just had a moment. Mars travels faster than Mercury. Is Mercury faster than Mars? Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars evolve faster. So there you go. So I just wanted to check that, and I should have looked, shouldn't I? But I just sort of was thinking about it and energetically, and I meant to look it up before I made this and I didn't. But yeah, and I never know how fast they all travel. I mean, I know some of them, but I can't regurgitate that information, if you like, because I sort of think of them. I think more of the energies of the planets than the day-to-day things. It's like I'm the type of personality that likes to drive the car and sort of not know what all the parts are in the engine and what they're named. If lifted the bonnet of the car, I wouldn't know anything. I just want to be able to drive it. So I have to refer back all the time, a lot of the time. So getting back to him, he is an oddity, and he does look back to the past, which he goes retrograde. Mercury goes retrograde, I think the most in the solar system. It does it 2 or 3 times a year. So he is happy to look back, to review, to reflect, and redo things if you have to. So I don't think he repents, but there you go. He looks back. In love, this card is about meeting people. He's very much a single sort of flirtation, because that's part of his act with it all. You know, like if you go to see someone on stage and they make eye contact with you as an entertainer, and they'll often give you a wink, and it's just like a harmless sort of flirtation. It's just an acknowledgement. That's his energy. He likes to start projects, and he likes to take a lot of the momentum, which is also an Aryan trait, and he will negotiate and argue, and he will state his case quite quickly, and he's got a very good communication skills. Money wise, expect like bonuses with him and opportunities to make money, because he's holding that coin in his hand, so he will seize an opportunity to make money. How long that coin stays in his hand, one will know. He can't hold it forever, can he? Otherwise he wouldn't be able to do anything else. His health and well-being, he can sort of be about migraines and stress and headaches as far as a well-being. I don't do medical readings, but some people ask me something, and if it comes up, depending on the context of it, I will talk about well-being with someone with a certain energy. But most of the time, if that comes up in a reading and you have that discussion, you must always encourage people to see their physician, doctor, health professional, there's probably a better way of putting it, whatever country you're in, because that is important, that happens. But he is definitely, he might be complementary medicine as well, along with her, with the High Priestess. But he is basically very charismatic, and he seduces with a wink in the crowd and holds the crowd, but many faces. So you've got to watch the hands and eyes. And he is a yes card in the cards of change, which I'll go through at another time. That as a list, there's a lot of cards that are change cards, but he is energy, and he is also about to trust yourself and know that you have the skills to do it. Where he comes before her, but she also then says, well, yes, you have the skills, but you need to go within, and you need to have a bit of knowledge, and you need to trust the inner knowing, where he's more likely to sort of wing it, if you like, without this. But he learns that to raise higher and be more sophisticated with it, he has to do some learning with it. So that's how they fold on, because that's how this hand and these two becomes the book. Because yes, he can wing it, he's street smart, he can scramble things and be successful on his feet, and he's sort of like streetwise, bit of a trickster, gets through on his sort of smarts. But then he reaches a point where he needs to sort of go within a little bit and learn that you can do even more if you have a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more self-centeredness with it, because he will be he's a very fast and quick card as well with that. The card he looks to, now this is a interesting thing with Lamont, the Fool. He's some decks they give him a 0, but he's also he is a 0. I've got a deck where he's actually card 23, I think, or 22, I can't remember, in the Thompson Ling deck. Some people put him at the end, or at the beginning. So I thought, because we've already talked about the High Priestess, also what you see is what you get with him, but there is a lot of dazzle and watch the hands, because it's magic and moving all the time, where she is a slower card where he's fast. So I find if he's in the outcome position, you often find the outcome will move a little bit more swiftly than you had planned. So sorry, nearly lost my tea. So what you see is what you get. And he's looking back to him. Now maybe he's thinking, well, I used to be a beggar on the street, and now I've got a few smarts, and I've come better in the world. Because if you compare these two, his stick becomes a wand, connecting him to a higher source, if you like, on a spiritual level, but also that little bit of magic. He has now some money, but all these things on the table could have been in his bag, but he doesn't. Well, we can't. Interesting, he's face on. You sort of, what you see is what you get a little bit with this, where he's front on, in the sense of you might look at him, although the pants do change, but we don't know that he hasn't got what we say in Australia, the arse out of his pants, because he's a front on card where he's sign on. So they could be one of the same. He just manages to score a hat from somewhere, but he's got more knowledge and learning, and he's picked up more worldly tricks than the Fool has. So why is the Fool not numbered? And I don't know. He has things up his sleeve, and he doesn't know when or how to use them, where by the time he reaches this stage, he knows how to use his tricks and street smarts, if you get what I mean. And also another card that can relate to this as we're talking, I'll just have a look, is the Hermit. They all sort of can fit together like that. And the Hermit, so therefore, how does the stick goes from walking, and he gets a few more street smarts, but then when you put them together, we're back to a robed individual who then has to step back and take account of some of his deeds, and this becomes here, and it's like, this is like a cycle, because we go from 1 to 9, and he can fit in anywhere. I don't mean to confuse, but this is just how I look at it as such. Therefore, you can sort of then read your story on how they sort of work a little bit, or one way of working them. My way isn't the only way by any means. So if we were to put we move into here with the cards, and we look at the mat, this one is instable. His instability flows on with that as well. A lot of instability here. He's free, he's on the road, not sure, don't care where he's going. That's a spoon. You think it's part of the bag, but it's actually a spoon. So he can catch a meal, he can do things. So he's still got that survivor in him, but he gets smarter and smarter here. So he learns on, it's like that journey thing. And I know a lot of people do that Fool's Journey, Joseph Campbell work with that, and it does fit. So he is a bit more hesitant. He hasn't learned. This one, if he is walking along and meets this one and joins the circus, he can then turn around and learn some skills, and here we go, well, I'll show you a trick or two to help you be able to get your next meal. And he's impulsive enough to say, well, yes, I'll give that a go. So they go hand in hand, because this card here is ruled by Uranus, which is sudden and unexpected. So he'll be in for a penny and in for a pound, because he's sick of his isolation, and he's very, very, very good of knowing that he can learn along the way, because this stick travels all the way through till he becomes with that, which we'll get to in a minute. So he just doesn't know how to use it, and to know then here how it can really benefit him. So he doesn't know where he's going. If he turns up in a love reading, it can just go anywhere. It can also be the end of a cycle. It can be someone deciding, I've had enough, I'm moving out today. Maybe you'll be glad he moves out, who knows. He's also he changes jobs and stuff a lot. He's a little bit more vagrant, not sort of in a smart, sort of shifty way. This one will stay longer, and make the most of it while he can, because I always say Gemini is like the car salesman of the zodiac, if you've ever been around car salesman. And car salesman is a wonderful career, I might add, in real estate, because I've known a lot of salespeople in my life, and I've known that Geminis get attracted to that industry. Money for the Fool is just a bit of a blur. He's not in that much need of money. He's more in need of cadging his way and making do and keeping his stuff to himself, where he's showing that he can make money. He's got this different smarts to him. This one could be very closed and you wouldn't know what he's got, and he might be pretending to be poor when really he's got a lot of money. That's often the case with this person, or they're not care to show what they've got as well. And he can also stress out. He can be stressed where he's heading off in a new direction and may not know where he's going, and he's often a little bit hesitant, but there's this drawing feeling that he just needs to do it. He's in a state of wandering, and it's lucky he meets this person and this person shows him the ropes with him, because and when Uranus is in our chart, it's one of the gods of change. That's often where we do unexpected behaviors, depending on where it is in your chart, and depending when it's doing a return into where it is in your chart. It can make the most people who've lived very conservative lives up and want to become the wanderer and throw it all away and do things like that. So he's quite a wild card, like the Fool in the playing cards, if you like. But I wanted to link him with the Hermit today because of the sticks. I was looking at these before and after, and I looked at the High Priestess, and I sort of found that we have this to here, and here we have the Hermit, number 9. 9 is endings, the end of a cycle. These cards are about beginnings, heading off and jumping in and starting out, or kicking off. This one jumping in and starting out and knowing nothing. This one, get back to there maybe, beginning and taking off and having the energy to do things, and you've got a few skills, so you're sort of successful and you know you can pull it off because you've got some street smarts if you want, or education. But once you put the Fool here, there's a delay. So no matter what we want to do with these two, there's a delay. The Hermit as a number 9 is associated with the end of a cycle. When we do numerology 9 is the end of a cycle, because then we go back to 10. We then go to 10, which is a 1 and a 0. So that's and like an ending. It's about stepping back now, because that's this whatever cycle these are on, or if you're the 1 and you're morphing on your journey, then it's time to step back because it's run its course. And the Hermit is connected to the world with his stick, and so is the Fool. The Fool has a stick in the Marseille deck, where on the Rider-Waite-Smith he's on the edge of a cliff, and he has a stick with his bag. He has this, which connects him to air, where this is in a grounded stick and supporting him, and the Hermit supporting him. So where he's about to take off, go forward, but not know what I'm doing, this is about, oh, hold on a minute, I better see what I'm doing, because I've learnt through all the other cards that it's not that simple, particularly if you've tore around like mad, out of control with the Chariot, which is before him. So with the Hermit, you have this whole sense of it's all in rhythm, and you don't need that speed. You don't need that. These two are fast, where we come to something slow. And so you can accept the idea that it's not the right time for the project and need to look into it more with the Hermit. And he's also covered more, so he's in a different season, if you like, on time compared to this card here. He's there, he's got different, his clothing has changed here, and his is connected to air and things are moving, but it's also changeable with that. And so then you have the stick back being grounded again and needing that time out. And sometimes I have found, through knowing a lot of people who are in sales, like the Magician, they then need a break from it all. There's I just need a break from sales, and they might go for a holiday, have some time out and chill out while they assess what it is they're going to do. They step back from it because sales work, which I link this card to very strongly, is challenging, because when you're in this mode, you're meeting targets for survival, and so there's a pressure there, and you've got to do you've got to do what you need to do to meet the targets at any cost. So that's the energy I have with that, where by the time you've gone through all the steps with it, you just reach the Hermit stone, you go, I've had enough, I just need to step back and have a break from it. So this can also be someone older, a manager or something, that's going to stop your career going forward as fast as you might like it to. So you might come along here, get some new skills, you're raging along, you know a few tricks, you're street smart, and then all of a sudden you are having someone sort of blocking the way, a setback. Someone or something is slowing things down. You might be being discouraged. This one says, hold on a minute. You don't know what you don't know yet. I've got a little bit of knowledge from the High Priestess, but you've still got a bit of the way to go from going from High Priestess to the Hermit. And if you're looking at health and well-being, the Hermit can be about aches and pains, and sort of he's an older man to start with, so he's going to have sort of those elderly concerns either before his age, true age, because some people physically, if someone's worked hard as a physical job, like people who were doing physical work, bricklayers and things like that, or on their feet all day, they can age a little bit more quicker than someone that may have had it a little bit more easy. And this can be a card of frustration, but also whatever with this card, with the Hermit, he shines light on all the knowledge that you used to know, things you used to know. If he's here, he shines light on, remember when you're free and you were roaming around in your, your camper van. You had a van, you're fancy free, and it lights all that up, and you can sort of rejuvenate yourself with that, depending on, they're all contextual to the reading, by the way. I'm just giving examples of the energies of the cards, the way I sort of see them. So he has there's a lot of red and hope with this, and he is grounded because he has stepped back and he's been able to assess, and he's even possibly can recharge, because it's not always about an older man. He could be just getting wisdom. And I've got my energy back, and then can ready to jump on the wheel. The wheel comes after him. We talked a bit about the wheel yesterday as well on the last video. And he can then turns his back on things. He can turn his back on the humdrum of life and focus on when he was free. Or maybe he wants to focus on when he was studying his life at university. Or maybe he wants to turn his back on this and focus on putting more into the environment, caring for the environment. Any of those things. I sort of talk about the cards and then I cross over into them. But there is this hesitation. Need to look into this first to see if the stars are all what they are shining to be. Or maybe getting back to our where are you? Getting back to our magician, who's shot through on me. What a trickster. It's winter here. Oh, getting back to our magician, I've got a friend that's offered a job, and he's thinking, well, I want to step back from being a manager and go back to being and working where I was working before, where it was faster and smarter and more stimulating, but I didn't have the jobs, the sense of it all being on my shoulders, being in charge, being at a management level, being on that treadmill of every day. Because here you've got the knowledge, gained a lot from here to here. So it's all a bit of a journey with the cards. I hope I've helped you thread them through quick, and we're not quick, made sense of them more than anything. And my Gramond deck, as I said, we've been in a lot of rain. So there we have it all showing, wow, what's come along. I hope that makes sense. Starting out or stepping back in our story, working hard, been working very hard, working the streets, putting all the effort in, right, risen to the top, been promoted. Oh, that's not what I thought it would be. That's too hard on the treadmill, because I've been a bit more free and, like, you know, working with people on the ground up. You know, like sometimes you can be in a job where you are working face to face with clients, and then you get promoted to manager, and you all of a sudden you got all this paperwork and responsibility and stuff put on you, and you have to reassess where you want to be, and you step back, you reassess, and you think, well, gee, if I sort of drop this and get off the treadmill a little bit, I can then take off and have a bit more time off and enjoy life a little bit, and go back down to how it was when I was younger, or at a different time in my life, where I could just throw some things in the car and go away for the weekend easily. There's many ways to read these. I'm reading them out of context. It's just the first thing that comes into my head when I see these images, and the type of questions that people come to me in a reading with that. Or if we covered death not so long ago, I'm sure we covered death, and we put that there, and we tell the story, well, here you are, you've done your work and everything, you've even been promoted, so you're going to get some good super and everything, and now you can retire. But you know, if you retire and stop too much, where are you heading to next? That is going to be the end of a cycle or a chapter in your life, whether you like it or not. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So many people achieve so much once they're retired. Like, they're just the cards. I don't know. You tell me how you see it. And I'd like to thank you for watching. We've covered a lot today, but I find with the Marseille deck, this is myself. And if you focus on the majors only and you start moving them around and playing with them, you can start threading stories together quite quickly, and therefore you can think about situations in your life or situations in the life of people that you know, and that they will come to you as situations that will trigger your intuition, question or no question. So that's our cards for the day. Thank you for watching. We did start with a magician, didn't we? We will see you on the next video, and I look forward to reading your comments. If you have any questions about any of the cards, leave them in the comments and I'll answer them. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye for now.